Iran is left shaken after Trump locks down the White House amid strong rumors of a new front in the war, this time possibly involving a ground operation. Take a look at this schedule. Donald Trump kept the key items on his schedule closed to the press this Friday, while the United States government prepares a possible escalation of attacks against Iran. The move took place just a few hours after a high-level meeting in the Situation Room, where Trump received new military options to increase pressure on the Iranian regime. At the same time, dozens of U.S. refueling planes began to be sent to Israel, providing support for long-sustained air missions. The White House has not yet announced a ground invasion, but the combination of closed-door meetings, aircraft movements, and new targets under consideration has put Iran under heavy threat.
Does this, in your opinion, increase the likelihood of some kind of ground operation in Iran in this region around the Strait? Well,
I know we were talking about this, right? And it's something I mentioned. Look, I think that for there to be signs of a ground operation, we would see many more targeted attacks and an air campaign in certain areas. What's been very interesting in this latest round, specifically over the past few days, maybe for most of the week, it's that we started to see an increase in attacks targeting Aritesh, the regular Iranian army. Aritesh has generally been spared in the American attack campaign. Maybe Aritesh is acting much more actively.
Trump is considering targeting energy facilities, increasing attacks on nuclear sites, and bombing suspected underground structures. While Iran tries to show strength with missiles, drones, and statements, the United States moves forward. The presidential schedule recorded this Friday showed work periods classified as closed to the press. It shows that the most delicate decisions are happening without direct coverage from journalists. Trump also had a reception related to the World Cup scheduled for the end of the day. However, discussions about Iran remained shrouded in official silence. The new front began to take shape even before the schedule was finalized. Trump gathered Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, CIA Director John Ratcliffe, and other national security officials. Plans were presented for an offensive larger than the concentrated attacks. On the Iranian coast, options include airstrikes on power facilities, further action against nuclear facilities, and an attack on the underground complex known as the Mountain. Pikesh, where the United States suspects that Iran maintains activities protected by large layers of rock. The attacks already carried out show the direction of the campaign. The United States hit 6 locations in the Hormozgan region near Bandar Abbas, as well as a train station, the electrical facilities, the Iran Shahar airport, and a maritime control tower in Shahar. The choice of targets reveals an attempt to disrupt the logistics that keep Iranian forces active on the coast. The offensive reached its 6th consecutive night and was accompanied by the reinforcement of the naval blockade against Iranian ports. United States Marines boarded a vessel in the Gulf of Oman to check if it was trying to evade the restrictions. Other ships changed direction due to the risk of interception. Navegadores Blue. The blockade tries to cut off the regime's revenue, limit exports, and prevent ships from being used to transport military materials. A tanker was also hit near Oman, increasing fear among companies that are still trying to cross the region. The problem for the regime is that its retaliatory attacks have not stopped the American bombings. The bridges continue to be destroyed, the blockade remains in place, and new aircraft keep arriving in the rear. Iran manages to cause damage, but it has not regained secure control of the strait nor driven away United States forces. The island of Kashmir has also become a major point of attention. It is located within the Strait of Hormuz and has tunnels, missile positions, and facilities associated with the Revolutionary Guard. Because of its location, whoever controls its military positions can monitor a decisive part of the maritime passage. Recent attacks have hit areas of the island and fueled speculation about a possible future limited operation by special forces. The Pentagon had already prepared previous options involving ground forces and the occupation of strategic Iranian positions. The current plan may aim only to create the impression that a ground incursion is possible, forcing Iran to move soldiers and equipment to protect islands, ports, and coastal areas.
What would be the probability in percentage terms of a ground operation actually happening, based on what we see now?
I would say low, very low, maybe 10 or 20%.
Okay, that's good.
That's true. I agree, but expect little.
That's so bad. I can't believe I said a 1 in 5 chance of a ground operation happening.
Okay, it's a 1 in 10 chance.
Come on, 1 in 10 is still a lot, right? That shows the state of things.
But the problem, Mario? The problem is that we'll have little advance notice if a ground operation is imminent. Many forces are already in the theater of operations, and the Iwarli have already taken their positions. They can quickly move more forces from the continental United States to the Middle East. But the ground forces in the Middle East are already numerous. There are already plenty of people there.
This reaction would spread out the Iranian defenses and create opportunities for new airstrikes. Trump intends to use military pressure to bring Iran back to the negotiating table. The main demand is the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, followed by strict limitations on Iran's nuclear program. The White House states that diplomatic contacts are still taking place despite the attacks. The American government believes that the regime will only make concessions when it realizes it could lose even more important structures. Limiting press briefings also protects Trump from revealing in advance which option receives support. An offensive against power plants would have an immediate impact on the functioning of Iranian cities. A new nuclear attack would require specific weaponry and constant resupply support. An operation on islands or coastal facilities would increase the risk for American military personnel. Each path has a different cost, but all of them put Iran under pressure that increases every day. The Iranian regime tries to compensate for its losses by threatening the ports, refineries, and water facilities of neighboring nations. This strategy could affect civilians and increase the number of governments willing to support the United States. The attack on Kuwait's desalination facility caused concern because the region depends on these plants for drinking water. The more Iran attacks essential structures outside its territory, the greater the risk that new nations will become directly involved in the response. Trump is still keeping the final decision in the White House. The refueling planes are being positioned. The naval forces are watching over the Gulf of Oman, and the attacks continue to reduce the available routes for the Revolutionary Guard. The next move could be a larger air offensive, an attack against protected nuclear facilities, or a limited action at some strategic point along the coast. Thank you very much for watching this video until the end. Support our project and contribute using the Pix key shown on your screen. We are an independent channel focused on keeping you informed and telling you the truth. Your contribution helps us keep going.